So this video will talk you through the Unit 8 BCS paper from 2015. It's the exact same paper as you had for your mock exam in March 2018. It is the theory paper, and we're just going to read through the instructions on the front of the sheet before we start to look at some of the answers. So these papers are always an hour long. The real exam will be an hour long. That's 60 marks for 60 minutes. So it's basically a minute per mark. So you haven't got time to hang about with this. You must use black ink. You've got to fill in the boxes at the top of the paper, which is your name and your candidate number and everything. Answer all the questions. If you don't answer a question, then you're not going to get any marks for it. If you have an educated guess, have a real good guess at it, if you're not certain, then you might just surprise yourself. You might get some marks. It might be the difference between a grade. You must answer all the questions in the spaces provided. Do not write outside the box around each page or on the blank pages. It's really important that if you are going to write extra outside of the lines, that you ask for a blank piece of paper from the exam invigilator. What happens with these papers is they're scanned in and they are sent to the moderators to be able to be marked. When they're scanned in, they only scan text that is written on the lines. If you write anything outside the lines that you provided them, that you're provided with, it won't get marked. So if you have any extra pieces of paper or any extra words that you want to write, you must ask the invigilator in the room in your real exam for an extra sheet of paper to be able to get all the marks that you require. It says do all your rough work in the book, but cross through anything that you don't want to be marked. Just a little bit of information: the marks for the questions are shown in the brackets. The maximum mark for the paper is 60, so again 60 marks, 60 minutes. And you do need to make sure that you use good English and clear presentation in your answers. If you're entitled to use a computer to type your answers, then type your answers. It might be that your handwriting, you struggle with handwriting and your handwriting is very difficult to read, then please use your computer. It will mean that you get the marks that you deserve if you have the knowledge. However, if your handwriting isn't very good, you've got a computer but you still decide to handwrite your answers, there's every possibility that you might not get the marks that you expect to get because the examiner can't read your handwriting. So be very careful about that. If you're entitled to the computer, use it. If you're not entitled to a computer, make sure that your handwriting is clearly presented. Quality of written communication will be assessed in questions 1D, 2D and 3C. They are your 3 9-mark questions. So you've got an hour for this paper. I'm hoping that the explanation won't take you an hour to listen to, and this video won't take you an hour to listen to, but we'll make a start now. So this is the first page. We'll just zoom in. So it says read the background information before answering the questions. You'll notice that I've just highlighted things. I will continue to highlight things as we go through. They're the important bits, and when we come back to item 8, I'll start to highlight the key bits of context. So the background information is for fabulous wedding planning, and it says this: Lisa has been running a wedding planning business for 3 years. Couples pay Fabulous Wedding Planning, or FWP for short, to organise their perfect wedding day. FWP works with couples to provide a range of services such as finding venues, florists, caterers and photographers. So that's your background information. Don't make anything up. It will be added to as you read item A, item B and item C, and we'll move on to that now. So it says read item A, and it says that in bold because it's absolutely vital that you use item A in some of your answers. So read it, it'll give you extra information that you need. Read item A and then answer the questions that follow. So item A says this: the business has grown so much that 2 additional employees and an office are necessary. Lisa and her part-time assistant will not be able to manage all of the workload once the business expands. Lisa needs to advertise for and recruit 2 additional employees, so 2 extra members of staff. One of the employees will be responsible for the sales of the wedding planning packages, and Lisa has started to create the draft job advertisement. So you've got the draft job advertisement underneath. Because it's there, it's going to contain some really vital information. So again, read it carefully, make sure you take it in. So it says it's for a permanent female wedding sales consultant. They're going to get paid £20,000 per annum plus 3% annual profit bonus. It's a full-time job. It said you will be responsible for providing expert advice about our wedding planning packages. You must have sales experience with a track record of achieving targets. Previous experience in the wedding industry is desirable, but remember that isn't essential, it's just desirable. It'd be nice if you had that. And it says the post is suitable for someone under 25. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to read through the questions and I'm going to see if any of that information applies to the questions that we're looking at. So question 1A says state 2, so I've highlighted that, features of a contract of employment. Now when I answered, or when I marked some people who had answered this on their papers, they started quoting something from item A. Item A has nothing to do with a contract of employment. What you've got in item A, and I've left it on the screen there, is a draft job advertisement, but you haven't got a contract of employment. So it actually says state 2 features of a contract of employment, not of this contract of employment, any contract of employment. So you've got to read the question carefully. Here's 1B, we'll just zoom in a little bit. It says explain 2 benefits of using a bonus payment to reward employees. Okay, again, that's not in item A. We hear that in item A she's going to give something like 3% bonus, but it doesn't say using item A, make sure that you answer this question. It doesn't say that. So we'll move on. 1C, zoom in a little bit. It says explain 2 examples of how FWP, so that sounds like you're going to have to bring in your own knowledge of FWP here, the business. So where will you get that from? Item A. Explain 2 examples of how FWP will be discriminating if the draft job advertisement in item A were to be used. So we'll have a look back at item A in a minute and we'll highlight some of the bits that we're going to need to put into our answer. Here's 1D. 1D is the 9-mark question. Now the 9-mark questions always come with their own little bit of information at the top. And this one starts with once the final job advertisement and so on. So you don't have to link it back to item A in this instance. It has its own bit of information. Now I have been asked numerous times in the past by people in my class, should I go on and answer the 9-mark questions first? If you want to, that's absolutely fine. I think there are 3 9-mark questions, and I think I'm correct in saying that they make up 47% of your overall marks. If you don't get the paper finished, obviously the last question is a 9-mark question, so straight away you're losing 9 marks. So if you feel as if you can get enough information out that box at the top that starts once the final job, and you can go on and actually answer that 9-mark question, then go for it. Go and answer your 9-mark questions first, and then go back to the earlier questions. Or what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk you through the first set of questions, and then I'm going to give you opportunity to answer the 9-mark question as it comes along. And you should have enough time to do that. The 9-mark question shouldn't take you 9 minutes to answer, and realistically the 2 and the 3-mark questions shouldn't take you 2 and 3 minutes to answer, but it's up to you. So we're going to leave that question for now because that doesn't have anything to do with item A in this instance, and we're going to go back and start to highlight item A. So what I've done here is, considering what I think it was question 2 had to say about the discrimination, I've just highlighted the bits that I think scream discrimination to me, and I've put there permanent female wedding sales consultant, so you can basically only go for this job if you're a female. That sounds like a bit of discrimination there if you're a male. And the last bit says the post is suitable for someone under 25. Again, that screams discrimination to anybody who's over 25. So, here we go with the answers. 1A, state 2 features of a contract of employment. Any contract of employment. So, salary or wage. A contract of employment is something once you've been shortlisted and then you've gone for an interview and you've got the job, you will have to sign a contract of employment, and so will your employer, agreeing to what your job role is and everything that's entailed in that. So your salary and your wage will be agreed, and it will appear in your contract of employment. Another thing that will appear in your contract of employment is the hours that you will be asked to work, or the hours that the employee will be expected to work. There are lots and lots of other answers, so I'll just run through them quickly. Your job title or your position, that's one. The place of work where you're expected to be working. We've already said hours and salary. Your holiday entitlement, how many days holiday you get a year. You want that written down in your contract of employment because holidays are important. Any overtime, overtime pay, how much that is, your overtime pay. A start date, you'll want to know when you start. The name of the employer, the name of the employee, how much notice you have to give if your contract is being terminated or if you want to walk away from the business. The employee and the employer's signatures, signing it to say that it's a true representation. Any expenses that you can claim, whether you work full-time or part-time, whether you're temporary or permanent, any responsibilities or duties, the length of time that the contract is for, and any pension information. So there's lots of different examples there, but the ones that are on your screen I think are the easiest ones. Salary and wage, and the hours that the employee will work. So 1B. So it says explain 2 benefits of using a bonus payment to reward employees. Again, it doesn't say use item A. Okay, we know that in the job advert it was something about 3%. Okay, it doesn't say anything about that in the question, so read the question carefully. Explain 2 benefits of using a bonus payment to reward employees. So where do you get your marks from? You get your marks from stating a benefit of a bonus payment, and then another mark for explaining the impact that that has for the business. Okay, so let's have a look. One benefit of a bonus payment is motivation, so that's where you get your first mark. So what does that mean? Making the worker want to work harder for the company, and this helps the business increase its profits. So somebody who's motivated works harder for you, which for the business means the business increases its profits, makes more money. So there's 2 marks. Another example. Another benefit of bonus payments is that the employee stays loyal to the business. That's your benefit. This helps the business retain good staff as the employee will stay with them. So that's the advantage to the business. There are others. You've got reduce absenteeism, so people being absent for a long time from your business, which would increase productivity in your company. Recruitment, obviously you would recruit better people, a better caliber of applicants for the business. Lots of other examples, but they are the 2 that I thought were the easiest to remember, I suppose. So 1C, explain 2 examples of how FWP will be discriminating if the draft job advertisement in item A were to be used. So when I highlight that, there's the important bits. 2 examples of how FWP, so it's really important that you bring them into your answer, will be discriminating if the draft job advertisement in item A, so you've got to use item A, were to be used. So you get a mark here for identifying the relevant Equal Opportunities Act. So if you tell us what the Act is, that's a mark. You get a mark for explaining how discrimination can occur. That's the second mark. And then you get a third mark for applying this to FWP, or Fabulous Wedding Planning. That's your third mark. Now obviously you've got 2 examples, so that would give you 3 marks and 3 marks, which is your 6 marks total. So here's the answers. First, an opportunity just to have a look at the item A again. So permanent female. Okay, so that's the discrimination against anyone who's male, and at the bottom there, the post is suitable for someone under 25. So that's the discrimination against anybody who's over that. So here we'll go for the answers. So 1 mark, the Sex Discrimination Act. Second mark, this states that men and women must be treated equally when applying for jobs. Third mark, linking it to FWP, Lisa can't just advertise for a female employee because this won't allow men to apply. Second example, the Equality Regulations Act. This is a bit of a strange one when you write it down. If you have a look on Google, it's called the Equality and then in brackets Age Regulations Act, but it's all to do with the ages of people who are applying for the jobs. So that's 1 mark. This states that applicants can't be overlooked for jobs on the basis of their age. So that's the explanation. Link it to FWP. Lisa can't specify that applicants should be under 25. One D. So this is your 9 mark question. You have a new bit of context at the top, and these are the bits that I think are important for your 9 mark answer. So first of all, the question says, should Lisa use a local paper or the internet to advertise the new position of sales employee, and give reasons for your answer. There's lots of context in the top here that you won't have got from item A. Okay, so that's why it's important to highlight and read the top bit. Once the final job advertisement has been completed, Lisa will need to decide on the most suitable method of external recruitment. Lisa has contacted the local newspaper and they will be able to place her advertisement in the weekly job section. So it appears that this newspaper has its own weekly job section. It says, however, this will take at least 7 days to appear. Now that's a long time. There is a separate section for sales jobs, so that's good because it's a sales position. And if you go back and you read item A, it does talk about it being a sales job, a sales position. So if there's this separate section for sales jobs, that's a positive for the newspaper. She's also considering using the internet, and Lisa has found a website that advertises jobs in the wedding industry. Now that's a positive as well. Anybody who's looking for a job in the wedding industry will go to that website. And they will be the best calibre of people applying for wedding industry jobs. Both options will cost the same amount to advertise the job, so there's no difference in cost, exactly the same cost. The new sales consultant will need 3 weeks training before they can start. Now you might have read this and thought, well, why is it telling me that? That's not important to the job being advertised. It is, because if you're going to put it in the newspaper and it takes 7 days to appear, and then they need 3 weeks training before they can start, that's a considerable amount of time. That's 4 weeks, plus obviously time to shortlist and get them to interview, etc, etc. So it is important. During these 3 weeks, the consultant will visit wedding venues and other suppliers to learn about the business. It says Lisa plans to move to the new offices within 1 month. And the consultant must be trained and ready to start by then. So 1 month is about 4 weeks time. It's going to take 3 weeks to train them, and it's going to take 7 days for the job to appear. That's 4 weeks. So time is extremely tight. So you want to make sure that you bring that knowledge, bring that analysis into the question. So what I've done here is I'm going to bring up an answer that has both sides of the argument, 2 positives, 2 negatives, or 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages. The advantages will be in green, the disadvantages will be in red. You'll have been told by your teacher that you must include context. Context in the advantages and disadvantages will come up in black, so you can see the context that I've taken from the little block of information above the question. And then the last thing is to give your own opinion. What do you think that Lisa should do? And that will appear in purple. Okay? So, Lisa could use a local newspaper to advertise the new position of sales employee. I've just written that in blue because it was just a good start to the exam question. Don't just suddenly start to list advantages and disadvantages. You need to write it. Like we said at the beginning, the information is quality of written communication will be assessed in questions 1D, 2D and 3C. So make sure it's a continuous answer. So Lisa could use a local newspaper to advertise the new position of sales employee. An advantage of this could be that the local newspaper will attract people from the local area that might already know the wedding venues in the local area, and this might mean that they need less training. Another advantage of that could be that the newspaper has a specialist sales job section where people looking for these types of jobs would look. Sales experience is essential in the job advert. Okay, so you've got your advantages and you've got your little bit of context there. The context purely comes from the information that was above the question for question 1D. Disadvantages. However, a disadvantage of a local newspaper could be that the advert will take 7 days to appear. Now, that's part of the disadvantage, but obviously the context, 7 days to appear, and with 3 weeks training needed, the recruitment process will be tight on time. That context appears in the information above the question. So yes, it is part of the disadvantage, but it does also give you a bit of context. Another disadvantage could be that although the job section is for sales jobs, it isn't specifically for the wedding industry. Okay, so what you really need is you need advantages and disadvantages, and you only need about 3 pieces of context. So you might see some disadvantages like that last one that pops up with no context. That's absolutely fine, as long as you've got 3 good bits of context in there. There doesn't need to be context anywhere else. I might slot some in a little bit further down, but now we're on the other side of the argument. So the other side of the argument is this: Lisa could advertise using the internet. An advantage could be that the internet advert could be up and running the same day. So it doesn't take 7 days, it could be the same day, meaning that Lisa could shortlist and hold interviews quicker than if the advert was placed in the newspaper. Another advantage is that the website is a specialist website for the wedding industry and would ensure that more applicants with the necessary skills would be applying for the job. It says that in the context. In the information at the top, it says it's a specialist website for the wedding industry. However, disadvantage could be that you may attract people who aren't local to the area and don't have experience of the local area and local wedding venues, meaning more training might be required. Another disadvantage is that the website will only attract applicants who have experience in the wedding industry, remember, because that website is purely for the wedding industry, and this might stop people who have excellent experience outside of the wedding industry from seeing the advert. And then your opinion. In my opinion, I think that advertising using it's totally up to you what you decide. Whether it's the local newspaper or whether it's the website, it doesn't matter. So in my opinion, I think that advertising using the whatever would be the best method for Lisa. So you must give your opinion at the end. So if you produce that, then you should easily have your 9 marks. Again, you can answer that at the end of the question, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D if you would like to. You could skip to 1D and answer it straight away. It depends how you feel you can use your time best. So question 2. I'm going to try and speed up a little bit here. So this is question 2. It says, We'll just zoom in. Read item B. Again, item B is in bold, so it must be important, so please read it. Read item B and then answer the questions that follow. Lisa and her part-time assistant share a computer and a colour laser printer. They use a database containing all of the contact details of their suppliers, such as wedding dress designers, venues and florists. With the recruitment of 2 new employees, Lisa will have to improve her business's internal and external communication. So communication has to be brilliant across the company. All employees will need access to the database when dealing with customer enquiries. Lisa is thinking about purchasing another 3 computers and creating a local area network, a LAN. Lisa's business has a website containing general information about the wedding planning service. It has a contact page with the business's email address and an inquiry form. A confirmation letter is sent to the customer once the price for planning the wedding has been agreed. Customers are given Lisa's mobile telephone number 2 days before the wedding for any last-minute inquiries or queries. So here's question 2a. You've got a diagram above. It says the diagram above shows the process of communication. Using this, so don't make it up, using that picture, identify the following. Who is creating the message? What method of communication is being used? Okay, and then question 2b says using item B, so you're going to have to go back to item B and read it and make sure that you pick out information. Explain how creating a local area network might help to improve communication at FWP. It says helps improve communication, so your answer must talk about improving communication. If it doesn't, you won't get the marks. 2c says using item B, so again, lots of using item B in this. Using item B, explain how FWP uses the following channels of communication. A, formal communication, and B, urgent communication. So you've got to link that back to item B. And here's 2D. 2D again comes with its own bit of context. We're not going to read that now, but it doesn't talk about using item B for this. Okay, but we will come back to that and read it more carefully when we come to the 9-mark question. So here I've gone back to item B, I've read it again, and I've highlighted the important things that I think are important to question 2A, 2B and 2C. So it says Lisa and her part-time assistant share a computer and a colour laser printer. They use a database that contains all of the contact details of their suppliers, such as wedding dress designers, venues and florists. With the recruitment of 2 new employees, Lisa will have to improve her business's internal and external communication. So here we'll go with the communication bit. All employees will need to access the database when dealing with customer enquiries. That might mean that they have to access it at exactly the same time as each other, and that's where your local area network comes in. Okay, so it says Lisa is thinking about purchasing another 3 computers and creating a local area network, or a LAN. The next part is for a different question. Okay, it's for later on in the test paper. I think section 2C, but we're going to highlight now anyway. It says Lisa's business has a website containing general information about the wedding planning service. It has a contact page with the business's email address. Now that could be used for formal communication. It says, and an inquiry form, a confirmation letter. Now confirmation letters are usually written in business language, they're professional, and they're formal ways of communicating. Okay, so there again we've got another example. So a confirmation letter is sent to the customer once the price for planning the wedding has been agreed. Customers are given Lisa's mobile number 2 days before the wedding for any last minute inquiries. So that seems to me urgent communication there. They're only given it 2 days before and it's for last minute queries. So we've highlighted the information, we're ready to use it in the answers. Here we go. 2A, the diagram above shows the process of communication. Using this, identify the following. Who is creating the message? So Lisa's creating the message. The sender on the left hand side says, my name's Lisa. So Lisa is the creator of the message, or you could have put sender and still got the mark. Okay. What method of communication is being used? Now if you look, she's talking. It's a speech bubble. It says, my name is Lisa. There's no mobile phone there, so she's not texting anyone. There isn't a computer there with email on the screen, so she's not emailing anyone. She's not on the telephone, so she's not phoning somebody. So the method of communication is oral or verbal communication. Again, it says, using this, identify the following, using the diagram. So I marked lots of papers where people said telephone conversation, or somebody put graphical. There's no graphics on there. There's no, she isn't handing across a sheet of paper with pictures on. Okay, there's no text message there, so be really careful. You must read the question again. Okay, so that's oral or verbal. 2b says, using item B, explain how creating a local area network might help to improve communications at FWP. So you've got 3 marks for this question. So the 3 marks come from, the first mark for knowledge of how a LAN might help to improve communication, for explaining how the LAN might help improve communication is your second mark, and the third mark for applying this to FWP, because it says, as I've highlighted, communication at FWP, so you must link it back to FWP. So again, I put in the marks here so you can see where you get the marks. A LAN will enable employees to work on the database at the same time. So a local area network will enable employees to work on the database, so it's talking about the database that it says in item B at the same time. Making sure new supplier contacts are added, again that's in item B. Making sure all employees see the most up-to-date choices available for customers. Okay, so a LAN will enable employees to work on the database at the same time, making sure new supplier contacts are added, making sure all employees see the most up-to-date choices available for customers. C. So we're having a look at this information again. At the bottom of item B, it says the website containing general information. There's a business email address, confirmation letter, Lisa's mobile telephone number, 2 days before the wedding, and last minute queries, just like I explained a few minutes ago. So using item B, explain how FWP uses the following channels of communication: formal and urgent. So formal can be sending the confirmation letter. So you picked out that example. Formal communication uses business language. So now you explain that you know what formal communication is, and will address the customer professionally. Okay, so 3 marks. Formal can be sending the confirmation letter. Formal communication uses business language and will address the customer professionally. The second one, urgent. Urgent can be using the telephone so that an instant reply can be received. Lisa provides her telephone number to brides to help the last minute problems, or help with last minute problems. So urgent can be using the telephone. That explains that you know what urgent is, so that an instant reply can be received, and Lisa provides her telephone number to brides to help with last minute problems. So again, you've used item B, it's obvious that you know what you're talking about, and item B is being put into formal and urgent. So 2D, this is your 9-mark question again. And these are the bits that I thought were important. Now you might have highlighted extra bits, you might have highlighted a little bit less, but when you're answering your 9-mark question, you must make sure that you use the context. So the new bit of context says this: FWP sells a range of wedding products on its e-commerce website. Remember, e-commerce is about buying and selling online. So it's going to buy and sell online through their website. And it says, for example, hair accessories, table decorations, jewellery and garters. Lisa is considering adding a new product. Her preferred options are wedding cakes or fabric floral bouquets. So they're bouquets, but they're fabric, so obviously they're not going to go off, Alright, they're not going to die, they're a little bit more easy to send through the post, those types of things, okay? Because both have high profit margins, that means that they're going to make good money out of selling either of these. The web pages will include customer feedback, an online guide, an ordering guide, photos, and frequently asked questions, or FAQs, for the products. Okay? Seems like a lot of information to go on the web pages. So it says, Lisa is concerned that delivery times of wedding cakes may be unreliable and it may affect the business's reputation if items are not received in time for the wedding. She also thinks that out-of-hours support may be needed for customers buying wedding cakes. So that's going to provide extra expense if we need to have that out-of-hours support. You've got to be thinking about all these positives and negatives in the background. Here's the product details. Basically, wedding cakes will take 2 to 4 weeks to be delivered. There's 50 different wedding cakes that people can have a look at and buy. And there is personalisation. You can have your own personalised flowers on there, icing colour, and cake stand. So there's lots of different variety there, which sounds good, but sounds a lot of work. Fabric floral bouquets, that takes 2 days to deliver. There are 20 different products, so there's not as many, and there's no personalisation there. So it might be that that limits customers, perhaps, but is easier for Lisa and her team to be able to provide those. So we'll have a look at the question. It says, should the new e-commerce product be wedding cakes, or should it be fabric floral bouquets? And give reasons for your answer. So you must use those product details, and you must use the yellow highlighted information as context in your answer. And there's lots of context here. The exam board will provide you with a lot of information. So again, same format as last time. Advantages in green, disadvantages in red, context will be in black, and the purple is your own opinion. Anything that comes up as in blue is just a little bit to make the answer read properly. So here we go. Lisa could sell the wedding cakes. An advantage of this could be that the cakes have a wide range of different products, meaning there is something for everyone. There are 50 different cakes, but only 20 different bouquets. So there's your context. Another advantage of that could be the range of personalisation, again allowing something for everyone, as the cakes can have flowers, icing colour and cake personalised to the wedding couple. Again, that context can only be got from the information above the question. Disadvantages. However, a disadvantage could be with so many different products. A large number of photographs of the cakes would be needed for the website, meaning higher costs for operating that site. If you're going to have 50 different wedding cakes and they all need a picture and a write-up, that's going to be a lot more work and a lot higher operational costs for the website, because there's such a bigger range of different cakes. Another disadvantage could be that the cost of 24-hour customer support for the cakes would be expensive because of the personalisation, and that information came through very much from the context that you might need 24-hour customer support for the cakes, and that would obviously cost. On the other hand, Lisa could sell floral bouquets. An advantage could be that they could be easier to describe using words and images on the site, as there are less of them with only 20 different products. Another advantage is that there is no need for the out-of-hours customer support for customers purchasing the flowers, meaning the business doesn't have to spend money providing this support that obviously they would have had to provide if they went with cakes. However, a disadvantage could be that the lack of personalisation may mean that customers can't find the exact product that they want for their wedding. And another disadvantage is good product description is absolutely vital for customers to gain a good understanding of what flowers are available, and this means spending time and money on good descriptions on the website. In my opinion, I think that Lisa should choose to sell, and it's up to you, as her next product on the e-commerce site. So coming to the end, we're into section 3. It says, let's zoom in, read item C, again it's in bold, and then answer the questions that follow. So it says, Lisa makes all of the non-routine decisions and most of the routine decisions in the business. With 2 additional employees in the future, Lisa needs to ensure that employees know which decisions they will make. It says the employees' roles. The sales consultant will visit all potential customers to sell FWP services and wedding planning packages. An office administrator will order supplies and deal with sales from the web page. And Lisa's part-time assistant has agreed to work 3 days a week, dealing with finance and customer service. So 3A says identify 2 different stakeholders and explain one interest each stakeholder has in a business. Doesn't mention FWP at all in that question. It says identify 2 different stakeholders and explain one interest each stakeholder has in a business. So be careful. 3B. 3B says using item C, so again we'll have to read item C carefully and highlight it for this question. Using item C, explain whether the following decisions are routine or non-routine and identify which employee would make the decisions in FWP. We've just read that information about the people who make the routine and the non-routine decisions, so we'll go back and we'll highlight that carefully in a minute. First of all, placing an order for fabric floral bouquets for a wedding, and then booking a different band 2 days before a wedding as the bride is refusing to pay for the original band which has already been paid for by FWP. There's a couple of things you've got to do here. You've got to circle whether you think it's routine or non-routine, you've got to give an explanation, and then you've got to say which is the employee that makes that decision. There's a few things that you've got to do here, 3 marks for each one, which gives you a total of 6 marks. And then the very last question of the paper, which is 3C, which we'll come back to in a minute, basically says, should Lisa use the small existing office as a storeroom or use it as a meeting room for customers? But we'll only be able to answer that once we've read the information above and picked out the important context for the 9 marks. So here we'll go highlighting it, knowing what questions are coming up now. We put Lisa makes all the non-routine decisions. Okay, most of the routine decisions she makes as well in the business. With 2 additional employees in the future, Lisa needs to ensure that employees know which decisions they will make. So the sales consultant will visit all potential customers to sell FWP services and wedding planning packages. An office administrator will order supplies and deal with sales from the web page. And Lisa's part-time assistant has agreed to work 3 days a week dealing with finance and customer service. So here's 3A, identify 2 different stakeholders and explain one interest each stakeholder has in a business. Lots and lots and lots of answers for this. So employees. Employees are a stakeholder. What's their interest? They will want to be paid a higher wage. They're interested in the business because they want to be paid a higher wage. Second, easy answer, customers. Okay, customers are a main stakeholder in the business. What's their interest? They will want services at the lowest price. Now in the mark scheme, the exam board provide a lot of different answers for this. So we could have customers will want good quality services. The owner will want high profits. Employees will want better working environment. Suppliers will want regular business. The government will want taxes to be collected. Competitors will want to compare their prices and their products. And the local community will want job opportunities. So there's loads of different examples, including the 2 that are on your screen now. So 3B, using item C, explain whether the following decisions are routine or non-routine and identify which employee would make the decisions in FWP. Place an order for fabric floral bouquets for a wedding and book a different band. So again, back to item C, there's the information that we've just read a minute ago. Here we go. So first of all, I would highlight routine. Okay, place an order for fabric floral bouquets for a wedding. So that's routine. You do that all the time. It's a wedding business that sells these fabric floral bouquets. They're going to do those all the time. It's a routine task. Okay, something that is routine happens all the time. Okay, it's nothing out of the ordinary. Okay, it's a standard thing that you would do in your business. So routine. Explanation: a routine decision is one that is made on a regular basis. There you go. Really simple understanding of what routine means. Who's the employee that will make that decision? The office administrator, and it says that in item C. If you look back now, you'll see that it says the office administrator will make those decisions. Second one in there, book a different band 2 days before a wedding as the bride is refusing to pay for the original band which has already been paid for by FWP. I would certainly hope that that isn't routine. Okay, so that's a non-routine decision, so I've circled that. The explanation is a non-routine decision is one that doesn't get carried out very often and it requires some experience to make that decision. So if it's somebody who's experienced making that decision, then the employee that makes the decision is going to be Lisa, or you also would have got the mark if you'd have said the owner of the business. So 3C. Lisa has moved the business into new premises and has decided to sell fabric floral bouquets. So there was her decision. She's decided to sell fabric floral bouquets rather than the cakes. The open plan office is large enough for 4 desks. So she's moved into this new premises. There's an open plan office which is big enough for 4 desks. There's a smaller existing office within the premises which could be used as a storeroom for the products that are sold on the website. Currently, these are stored in Lisa's garage at home 10 miles away, and she is expecting a delivery of 200 boxes of fabric floral bouquets. Alternatively, Lisa could use the office as a meeting room. Lisa thinks that some customers will want to visit the office to discuss their wedding plans and would like to use the small office to display photos of her previous jobs and products to promote the business. So you've got 2 possible uses for that small room, either to store as a storeroom or as a small meeting room. So the question says, should Lisa use the small existing office as a storeroom or use it as a meeting room for customers? Now we already know she has a large open plan office with 4 desks in. Possibly she could use the small room as a storeroom and still have the office to be able to talk with customers. That's a possibility. Okay, so let's get into the question, or into the answer rather. So here's the advantages and disadvantages, context and opinion again. Lisa could use the small office as a storeroom. Notice what I haven't done here, which is what we still have some people doing when we're answering these questions. We're not just throwing a load of advantages and disadvantages onto our page. Okay, the examiner wants to know that you understand which of your sentences are advantages, which are disadvantages, and why. So we're making sure that they're in sentences. It says an advantage of this could be, however a disadvantage of this could also be. On the other hand, she should. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're writing like that. Lisa could use the small office as a storeroom. An advantage of this could be that there is somewhere to store all of the products to be sold online. The 200 products will take up a lot of space for staff to complete other aspects of their jobs and may have a negative effect on customer service if put in the main open plan office. So if we've got to shove all these 200 products in the open plan office, it could really impact on what the staff can do in that open plan office. So why not use it as a storeroom? Another advantage of that could be the products are all at the office rather than 10 miles away, ready to send to the customers. So all the products are already at the office, they're in the storeroom, and they're ready to be shipped off to the customers. However, a disadvantage could be that if you use this room as a storeroom, the larger open plan office could be noisy for meetings with customers, and there are other employees in the office that could be talking. Another disadvantage could be that if the online sales increase dramatically, hopefully they will because the business is then growing, the business could be looking for even more storage around the building, which could make the place look unprofessional to customers. Lisa could use the small office as a meeting room for customers. An advantage could be that it will make the business look more professional, as Lisa could display photos and products in the room for customers to see. Another advantage is that the office would give a private, quiet area for the customers to discuss their needs with the sales consultants in pleasant surroundings. However, disadvantage could be that products sold online will need to be available to post, but if these are in the garage 10 miles away, then office administrators will need to take that time to travel to the products, to travel to the garage, to pick them up. Another disadvantage is that using this space for an office would be an expensive use of the space, as usually sales consultants visit the clients don't come into the office. So that's contained in the context as well. It actually says that sales consultants go out and visit people. Clients don't normally come into the office, so why have a small office to be able to bring your clients into if hardly any clients come into the office? And in my opinion, I think that Lisa should choose, and it's completely up to you, for the use of the small room. So we are within the hour. I know I've already had the answers pre-written out, but we've had a good discussion about the answers. We've discussed through how you possibly would choose different bits of context from the information. Perhaps you would want to go and do the 9-mark questions first, or maybe you want to do them in order so you've got a little bit more background knowledge about the business in order to put that into your 9-mark answer. Your 9-mark answers, if you look back through the paper, or your 9-mark questions, don't usually say using item C or using item B. They usually have an extra bit of context just before, so you need to consider that extra bit of context before answering your questions.